like to bring up, let me see, another example here that I already have pulled up. Oh wait, my chart, sorry. So how we created this particular screen is by utilization of the PowerPivot and of course PowerQuery. And then we also used the PowerView to determine how we were going to display this information. And as you can see, this is still, I'm working with what you can do with just Excel on-premise or Office 365 Excel in the cloud. Notice how it's real-time data. I can click to make changes to it, and then click again to actually bring it back to where you were before. Same thing here, it's all interactive. As the developer or creator of this particular model, when it's posted, you have the ability to determine, do they have access to the backend data or not? And again, you have the ability to actually set it up so that this data would be refreshed, automatically without the user having to be concerned. So they always have the most recent information. And so take a look at sheet 2. This is what they were actually using to build what you saw, the graphics in the front. And I want to show you with PowerPivot, go into that. I want to show you how you actually can model with this data as well. So let's go in and manage it. And if I show you it in the diagram view, you'll actually see that the information is made up of 2 different database sources. So a database 1 and a database 2 that's being combined together. I'm not a modeler, but this is just a real quick, simple example of, you have 2 values that are in the same that are in each one of these databases that you can easily associate to be able to build these tables. So then, I'm just showing you how quick and easy it is to go in. Let me go back to the data view, and let's say that we want to build a pivot table. So I'm going to build my own just to show you how quick it is. So let's say I want to add 2 charts together. I'm going to say, yeah, use that data just by clicking. And now here you go. Here's the 2 sources of data. So you have the all-time metals, and you also have that population data. And so I can just click down. Let's say for the first chart, I want to say the nation and show me the gold, silver, and bronze metals. And notice how quickly it builds it. I can do the same thing down here. And let's say this time I want to work with the nation and the population data. But let's say I want to change the chart. So just by right-clicking on it, I can go in and change the chart type, and I can change it to a, for example, a pie chart that quickly. So that's all it takes. You can move it around, you can change the colors. So that's really how easy all of that is. Okay? All right. So let's get out of this. So that's everything that you've seen so far has been created with just Excel. So here. Now, here's where we're going to get into what's provided with the PowerView. So I have internally, I'm actually showing you an internal site that I utilize within Microsoft, and as you using Power BI for your company, you would set up something similar. So this is actually a Power BI site, and as you can see, you have featured reports that you can set up. It's easily accessible at the top. We have some featured questions, and I'll show you that natural language query. And then take a look down here. Here's this document that I was working with. It was the rich client example. So what the individual did, what we did, is we actually took that model that we created and we uploaded it to the Power BI site. Now, you may be asking, well, if I have just standard SharePoint, couldn't I do the same thing? But the limitation is, with a typical SharePoint site, you have a limitation of 10 gigabytes compared to the Power BI being 250 gigabytes. So what you'll find is that your models grow really quickly. So they're, for the most part, pretty large in size. If you were using a typical SharePoint site, what you could do is you can post something up there, yes, an Excel spreadsheet, you would have to download it, and have to actually set up your own data connection so that you would make sure that the data was refreshed. And you also don't have all the flexibility to be able to add in all the different sources of data that you do with the Power BI environment. So notice here, I'm actually working with the same sheet that we have seen before. I have all the same interoperability that we did before. And so here in this scenario, you would be able to access this via a browser. And notice that it's any browser that's HTML5 compatible. So that really says, that could be, non-Microsoft products now that are accessing this information. We also have some applications that I'll show you in just a minute that you can use with Windows 8, and then also iOS is going to be providing, we're going to be providing the same application for the iOS platform. So bottom line is, regardless of the type of device, you have the ability to be on the road and access this information. And how powerful is that? Think about it. You go into your customers and you want to have discussion around revenue or profitability. So as a salesperson, you could very quickly go in and filter for just that particular account, and then bring up the views that you want, manipulate the data, and come in and have an educated conversation with your customer around either what they need to do to get up or how well they're doing with sales for you so far. So just kind of give you a feel how that would work. So let's go back to showing you this. Let me go back to the screen, the initial screen. Okay, so I want to show you now, we talked about the featured questions you can have, so let's click on one. So these would be, as an organization, the typical questions that are asked about a particular model that's been put up there. So here you have the information that's actually popping up. So the question is the medal count by year for swimming versus athletics. And so that's a very natural language question. You don't need to know how to query using a SQL query. And so it'll bring up that information for you. And notice that it provides the information in a number of different formats. As you can see here we have the line chart. But you may want to put it in just a table format. See? Or you can have it in a card format, bar chart format. You could also, let's say, go in and say medal count by year for swimming versus athletics. You could say medal count 2008 versus for the athletics. And so it automatically adjusts that information for you, as you can see. And another example of that as well. Here's one, the athletics that were won. And then you can also put in your own questions as well. So table, it realizes this is probably a good map scenario, so it'll bring up the map for you automatically, or that card scenario as well.
So no complicated queries or anything
Exactly.
like that.
And notice how this is the query that's put in, and you can create your own queries as well. And then what it will do, what the system does is it converts it to the appropriate query that's required by the system. Now at this point, now you can go in and send this information, you can share it, or you can actually create a link so that you can copy it and send it off for more people to see. So really nice flexibility there. And the final thing I want to show you is that application, so the Power BI application that again is available for your Windows devices and also very shortly for your iOS devices. And it's the same scenario here. So you have your documentation and you're able to go in and manipulate it. And this is based on, you can restrict what users can get to, and you can restrict to what they can get to in a model. So in other words, perhaps they can only see the upfront view, or perhaps they can actually go in and manipulate the back-end data. So this would be, you think about it, you're working with a smaller device, you're out there with a tablet seeing customers, you have the ability to actually do it, bring it up on your phone. So that's simple. So let's go back to presentation. Just to kind of summarize it all.
Can I ask you a quick question before you get there?
Absolutely.
Regarding sharing and access, can you publicly share something, say with a serialized link, so someone who's not maybe in your org can just
Yes.
get to it really quick, even if they don't have a login or anything?
Yeah, you can create that URL that I
Okay.
showed you, or you can mail a link to an individual that's
Okay.
outside of your organization. And also via SharePoint too, remember that you have the ability to provide external access to users as
Mhm.
well. So, let's see.
Another question.
Yes.
Could we use Skype on a remote desktop to share with other Skype users?
So if you had Skype, currently that's not integrated with, in terms of the video with Office 365, although we are moving towards more and more integration. At this point in time, we have contact integration, but you will be able to do that. I think what you could do, since you can share your desktop, you could actually share it that way,
Right,
using Skype.
right.
Absolutely. All right, so let me just sort through. We are down to kind of summarizing to what we saw here. Okay, so on the left-hand side, we started out with,
No, you're good.
got it, okay. So we went through the whole discovery, analyze, and visualize. And then we talked about the collaboration piece that is provided with Office 365, so the ability to share that information, to actually have control over it. From an IT perspective, you can actually identify who has access to this data, as well as who's utilizing, or what type of information are they utilizing most often. And then also, what type of data do people need access to, and you can provide it. So you have the ability to kind of lock it down if you need to with the collaboration in the Office 365 component. You have the natural language query that we showed you, and then also that mobility application that I showed you, which was the last thing that I showed you. And then finally, in terms of pricing. So as you can see, if it's an add-on to an E3 or E4, we currently have a promotion that allows you to go purchase it at $20 per user per month. Now keep in mind, for the most likely, not everybody in your organization is going to be utilizing Power BI. But there are going to be key people that want to either create the models or access those models as part of their job. And those are the ones that you would actually want to purchase the Power BI for. Then you also have a standalone version of that, which is $40 per user per month, and then a standalone, which also will give you the Office 365 Pro Plus if you don't already have that capability. And now you can go to Microsoft and you can do a free trial if you'd like to play around with it and see what you think. And I think that's basically it.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Provide a good overview for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, or you ready to hop back over, right?
Any questions for Kathleen before we continue?